Okie dokie, this is none other than the Victorian Crochet by Weldon and Company book. This is my most adored and frequently used book. There's a reason for that, of course. It has thousands upon thousands of original, authentic Victorian crochet patterns. It's absolutely delectable. It has everything you need. So, the first few pages are things I recommend that you pause and screenshot. So it was published in 1974. Here we are. Pause and screenshot, read it for yourself, as me reading it would be a great displeasure to your ears. Here's a few more things. So Weldon was a British publication, but this compilation of them is an American publication, so reminding yourself to translate the stitches is madly important. Don't forget this. Okay, you're good. And then if you're still a bit confused, we have the engravings here, so you can make sure you're doing the right stitches. Perfecto. And then they often feature Tunisian and hairpin in this. And Tunisian was known as tricot. Tricot is, to my best recollection, French for knitting, just how crochet is French for hook. Now this is of course a primary source, and if you're into crochet history, this will be delectable information. Let me do my best at reading it. Let's get you in focus. Okay, details of crochet. Crochet, or as it was called by the Scotch, shepherd's knitting, has really only been practiced during the last half century, and in fact barely that, for it was about 1838 that it became publicly known in Great Britain. For though it dates back from the 16th century, it was then called nuns' work, simply because it was only known to the nuns, who made most lovely laces and different articles. But of late years, nothing has met with such success as this simple yet most durable work, which is now found so useful for such articles as ornamental laces, edgings, mats, antimacassars, as well as articles of apparel. In fact, crochet may be applied to an almost endless variety of useful purposes, as these pages will show. That was a bit of a struggle, innit? Anyway, I'll just flip through and talk a bit. There's so many lovely patterns in here. If you have a chance to get this for a good price and you're a crochet enthusiast, I recommend it. This features thousands and thousands of lovely patterns. You get different stitch variations, you get your Tunisian, you get hairpin, you get cross stitch to do on your Tunisian, you get embroidery, you get lovely, lovely pieces of history in here. Because you have to remember, every one of these patterns is made by a new author, a different person with different techniques to crochet and different ideas for how it should look. And my best, that I'm working on these patterns, so if they're sticky notes because I've done them, so ignore that. So the beginning of these patterns, quite a lot of them feature a little blurb, I would call it. It's what the author recommends you use for their pattern, what materials, what colors even, how they recommend you stitch it, if they want it tighter, if they want it looser, so on. It is lovely. Some of them are quick references, you know, they're just a short little, more of a reference than a instruction. Let me get these off. So I post-it note, I bookmark things I want to do, and if I've done them, I block out the picture. But I did at one point look through this and think, what could this book offer? Like, would I really have fun? I don't know why I was so dense. I mean, look how fun the different stitches in here are. And then just exciting, unheard of patterns. And of course the history in here as well. Come on. I thought I ran out of things to crochet, you know, I wouldn't be that interested in some of these. And then I sat down and I said, am I stupid? Just genuinely what? There's so many gorgeous patterns in here. How could you think there isn't something for you? I mean, some of them are absurd, but then some of them are great. This thistle pattern is so gorgeous. That is on my to-do list. Do you not worry. All of the quilts in here will be made. All of the different stitch variations and the laces will be made. And this is a gorgeous antimacassar. So an antimacassar, it was a little headrest, I suppose. You would put it at the back of your chair to stop macassar oil, which is just a hair oil or any grease, any pomades from destroying your upholstery, right? From messing it up. So you would decorate it with an antimacassar. And obviously they became more and more decorative as everything in the Victorian era. So it lost trend as an antimacassar and just stayed as a decoration. Obviously in the 40s we get this coming back really, and it was a lot simpler, but again for pomades mostly and gels you would get this. But you will not find anything more decorative than the Victorian era, in my opinion. I mean, this is tricot or Tunisian crochet, and then you build it up with tufts, you embroider stars, you embroider flowers, you make tassels. That is just the beginning. There's so many gorgeous antimacassars, and you're thinking, I don't wear pomades, I don't wear gels, I don't have hair oil. Make it a table runner. That's what I'm doing with one of them. And you get to find out what sort of colors the author wanted you to do, which is for me so exciting because then you can kind of picture the colors in your head and bring it to life a lot more. Some of them want gold threads on top of this. It is stunning. The visions they had for their work is stunning. But yeah, they put a little section like at the beginning. They want what tension they would like, what colors, exactly what materials. Not all of them, but some of them do, and that is lovely history, I think. I will be making all of these, do you not worry. Now, I do want to speak about these ones. These ones feature a wave braid. So the wave braid is this here, this in the middle, this in the middle here, this in the middle. It's the wave. And this was very popular in the Victorian era and turn of the century, 1910s onwards as well. It, obviously things come back to life, but you see it in lovely patterns. And you could also, I have one where they put this in more of a circle. They crochet it so it's a nice jagged little motif, and then you can put a few of those together and make a table runner. It's lovely stuff. You would get things like coronation braid, and then I think this one features some pre-made, machine-made braid in here as well, which was gorgeous. It looked really nice. During the Victorian era, crochet wasn't the end of it, okay? That wasn't the end of your project. You would do some embroidery, you would do some cross stitch, you would line it with something, you would go all out, And then you would also just, lots of things were just textured. You would add so much texture to your things. And even though they did the same simple double crochet in British times as we do today, they would go into the back loop, so it would create a lovely, not ribbing. Ribbing was when you turned it back and forth, so I don't know what to call it, but it would create a lovely texture, as you see here. All of these lines are because they went into the back loop. Sort of maybe as if it woven, like when you see Tunisian crochet, and it kind of has those lines, and it's faintly reminiscent of a woven fabric. But yeah, they did that very often just to give us some texture and some visual interest. I think it's cool because you can do a simple stitch, as you can see this brewer's cap. Simple stitch for the majority, but back loop, and it does create a lovely fabric. And then just a bit of texture here. Super lovely. See, they kept things. This is why I'm making a table runner of slowly but surely, okay? And you can just see it's tricot here, then you do cross stitch, you do embroidery, then you do another tricot, and then you sew those together, then you double crochet, then you add tassels. For this one, it did say to use crimson and then black, and then you do a gold thread for some of the embroidery. Absolutely fabulous. So Victorians, they did simple patterns, like this is simple, okay? In the fact that all it is Tunisian crochet. Long length of Tunisian crochet for an antimacassar. Done. You can make this into a scarf, if not a table runner. Doesn't have to be an antimacassar. Of course, you can make it into a pillow. Anyway, all it is one long section of Tunisian, and then you just decorate it. But it brings it to such another level. This again. This into a lovely scarf, a lovely pillow. You can make a blanket, make several of these, different embroidery. It's gorgeous, it's easy. Oh, I do love seeing this. This is the original spelling of doily. So doilies were named after the guy who created them and popularized them, and that's the original spelling. And you have the same with mercerization. It was by Mercer. You have the Bessemer project, which is how to get steel from pig iron just cheaper and faster and better, so we could get steel crochet hooks named after Bessemer. That's just, I love it. I think this was mentioned in piecework magazines. I think I remember this kind of wheat detailing here. I'll have to check, but I kind of find it cool. I have the modern magazine and the actual pattern. But no, you can completely recreate this. You can take inspiration from them and work up what you would want. You don't have to use the same materials or colors. You can even make it from thread and then, I don't know, have more pin cushions. You could dress this up on your Ken doll, you know. Often they would put cardboard and then beads inside so it would rattle, which I think is fun. And there's a crochet, obviously it's crochet. There's an elephant plushie in here, which they did that, which I thought was cute. Again, gorgeous. And just texture differences, but that's simple. And then cross stitch. Just great elements to add to your crochet. Some of these I find ugly. You know, this is... I think you would have to be deformed to pull off that. But what do I know? Oh, so this is so cute too. Again, simple Tunisian, simple tricot, cross stitch on top. Gorgeous. That's all it is, cross stitch. And you can get a cross stitch pattern, just put it on there. You could get a pixelated pattern as well, and just, it's nice and simple and easy. Anyways, you saw on the cover we have two dolls here, and I had the lovely fortune of finding a gorgeous orphan girl, and we can dress her up. These aren't like on my priority to do right now, but it is super cute. And I found a little girl, a little orphan. Here she is. She does clank around. She is made from like porcelain. And oh my god, look at her hair. She's got a lovely hairnet and she's got these flowers. I don't know why she was abandoned. She is so lovely. And imagine her dressed up nice and cozy. And there's a few more patterns in here for doll's clothing. And if she does not meet the measurements or if it doesn't suit her, I have 3 other lovely orphan girls who I can play dress up with. But isn't this so cute? Imagine, come on, that is so perfect. And just a bit of whimsy as well, isn't it? Doesn't always have to be work. It can just be, oh, I have Dolly, let's dress her up. You could also adjust this and then make it for a doll. You know, you just have to play around with a few of the patterns because let's be honest, in the modern era, a lot of these won't be practical. So you have to figure out a way to play around with them and make them work for your lifestyle. And they do have some lovely Tunisian stitches in here, which I think is really fun. Oh, and pin cushions. They have a few pin cushions in here, which are so exciting. And I definitely have to recreate. They are just so cute. They're kind of ugly in a cute way. You know when something's so ugly that you wanna keep it because you know nothing else is gonna love it. So you have to love it, you know? A scarf in all of these different stitches. You can put this on, make a bunch of this and then put it on the edge of your bed. I don't know. Cute though. Very cute. Majority of these are well written because I've completed quite a few and they are pretty well written. Some of them there's here and there, some of them you have to adjust it, and if you were making like quilt patterns or something repeatedly, maybe you would want to rewrite it, but overall you get the gist. You definitely need a bit of experience in reading these patterns just so it's a bit easier for you, but it is pretty well written because there's some companies and their publications are appalling. You start reading through them and it's not sometimes that they're written poorly even, but for example in this pattern, where you would have the seam line of the beginning and end of every row, you would expect it here, right? This one it is, but just hypothetically. But some of the companies, for some reason, have a seam line down the middle or in a very obvious place, and you're thinking it was super easy for you to make it in the most conventional and seamless place, right? Why did you choose? But some of them do that to you, and I think, screw it, I am not remaking that. Because it shows a lack of care for me. It shows a lack of effort. And this one I'm so excited to do. This is for the quilt I'm making, of course. And it's phenomenal. I think this and this are so gorgeous. But this, I have been so excited to make it. I just need to gather up my strength. Is this not something that is like you don't need but you need? Gentleman's cotton nightcap. At one point I will be making it. I just need the right cotton, but it's one of those where it's like, again, it's not priority, but that is super fun and stupid to make. Even for like a costume, if you want to play a bit of dress up, Halloween or something, this is crazy. I did have to Google a few of these things, like what is a muff? I'm British, I know what a muff is, but what's a crochet muff? It's just you put your hands into it to keep them warm. Really cute though. Most of them are for children, but of course you can alter them. I did make this. It's a night dress sachet, and you would put your night dress into it once you were done using it to keep it nice, wrinkle free, clean, so and so. I made my one smaller, and now it's just for like nightcaps, scarves, stuff like that, which is fun because I don't have a night dress, and I didn't need it like quite big, so it's fun. It's a little experiment, isn't it? Again, another doll. The two other dolls that I have, they are twins. They would look so cute in that. This is hideous. Like, genuinely, you look through some of this, you get some excellent skills, some excellent, like, imagination. You see this? Genuinely, what the heck? I mean, I would probably make it, but what the heck? We've got our classic granny squares here, but they call it patchwork crochet. I think that's pretty cute. Makes it sound more elegant. Some of these patterns, of course, don't feature an engraving, which is a shame, but you know, space and all. This is something that is so fabulous. The rose toilet or toilette pincushion. So it's not for your toilet, it's for your vanity. And if you had hairpins, you know, you could stick them in there, but that is super duper cute. And you could repurpose it just a normal pin holder or something else, but super fun. Why not make it? What do they call it? Color work or tapestry crochet here in trebles. I'm ignoring that, I've decided. Oh, you know what? I was blinded by this elephant. I hadn't seen that before. Let's get that. Here we have a toy lamb, which is, it looks like a sad dog. And here's the elephant I was talking about. And one thing I find strange is instead of calling it like the skin or, you know, the crochet, because they don't force you, but they have you create a stuffing and sew that all together. And then you create the skin or the crochet, but they call it the hide. Ugh, somehow that's worse. It's like you've skinned an elephant and then you've stuffed it. Anyway, you get a little cardboard box, I think it was, and then you put some beads in it so it rattles. That's definitely something I'm going to make once I get the right wool, because that's going to be special and his color coordination will be perfect. But no, I didn't see this baby's rattle. Yep. These are some quite fun parts here. So these are where you use crochet molds. So these are pieces of brass or just metal, and they are shaped obviously, and you buy them this way. Of course, you get circles and you get pairs and hearts most often, and then you get very inventive things and you crochet over them. And they're like separate motifs, kind of like Irish crochet, separate motifs. And then you crochet them together. Absolutely gorgeous, but you need the patience of a saint or a dozen workers. Absolutely gorgeous for a tea cozy. Gorgeous. Piano top. Gorgeous. What's crazy is some of these, because I read through these, they don't use the molds, you just crochet these, which is so obviously they're interlocking, so doing a mold that way, but it just looks super nice and neat and an imitation of the molds without needing them. Of course, for heart patterns or triangles and stuff, that's complicated, but that is without a mold. This too, no mold. This one you put molds inside molds. This is great stuff. And I think, is this beading? So beading was where you would have ribbon in the crochet, not beads, just ribbon on top. Absolutely gorgeous array of work. You get lots of imitation laces. You would get imitation of bobbins, of knitted, of needlework. From separate areas you would get lots of Venetian, torchon, just everything you could imitate, you would. Here you see some more. This is again imitations. And aren't they gorgeous though? Crochet really is versatile. More of these gorgeous molds. Absolutely stunning. You just don't see this kind of experimentation today. Crochet is, what is this? Just embroidery. But crochet these days is mostly just left to thread. It used to be massive crazes of these things where you would intertwine metal with crochet, you would intertwine different fiber crafts, different arts completely. Absolutely stunning. These are gorgeous. I might have to buy a few molds now. I've been influenced. That one's a bit penile, but we don't have to look at it. This is gorgeous. This is absolutely brilliant. This gorgeous. I mean, imagine dressing up your babies in these things. That would be so cute. Oh, a little acorn pincushion. That's darling. That is super cute. This trinket box, as I was saying, they have you do a cardboard box and then crochet on top of it. Then you put a lining in. Then, of course, you put your bows, and it's very nice. I think it is super duper cute. It's more also imaginative and creative and thoughtful, I think, if you add more than just crochet to something. That's my opinion. You've got this sweet girl down here. Luckily my one looks a bit more cheerful, but we can get a little sailor. And this pincushion is so cute. That is something that your grandmother would have, isn't it? That is super duper cute. And if you want to see the back just from interest, but I do think that will be it. I will be updating this, making as many things as I can. You will see sticky notes everywhere. I want to make as much of this as I can, and I'm so excited to do so. Sorry, seeing my jump around here, excuse me. But yeah, thanks for coming to see this book. Hopefully you enjoyed.